we're coming to you live from all corners of the United States and around the world. So I'd like to introduce our first speaker here in a second. But first, I'd like to remind all of our viewers that we do have a chat function if you're watching on Zoom. So any questions throughout this series, if you have them, please post them there. Hello to everybody from our Facebook live feed. Same thing, if you have any questions, please post them there, and our admin will be feeding them to us here live on the chat. So we'll get started with our first speaker. She has been with us for many years, since the inception of apparel textile sourcing. And I'd like to introduce Hong Mei. She is the Senior Director of Compliance Assurance for the Worldwide Responsible Accredited Production, or WRAP, one of our oldest and largest partners that we have at ATS. Her seminar is titled Safeguarding Your Supply Chain, WRAP's Approach to Ensuring Responsible Sourcing. Certainly always a hot topic at the show and industry-wide. So Hong, welcome. Okay.
Thank you.
So we're gonna get started here. So Hong?
Yep. Thank you, Jason. Thank you so much for that great introduction. And I'm happy to be here. As you mentioned, that WRAP has been partnering with ATS for the past several years. And I'm always grateful, and WRAP is always grateful that ATS has been putting responsible sourcing in such a big highlight for each of your show. So we're very grateful. And with that, I would like to share my screen and start the conversation. Kevin, if you could give me the right to share my screen, that would be great.
You should have it already. Not.
Excellent.
Like the pot of gold there, Kevin. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that logo as well. Let me try again. Not yet. I see that you give me the right, but for some reason, when I click the share screen part, the screen doesn't come up. All right, let me try again. Yep, now we are good. I think you can see my screen, correct?
Yep, you're good.
Excellent, thank you. Sorry for that technical glitch. Let me switch to slide sharing and stop subtitles. That's great. So thank you again for ATS, and thank you for all of you who participate in this session. So my topic, as Jason mentioned, is safeguarding your supply chain, WRAP's approach to ensuring responsible sourcing. I'd like to go to the agenda and give you an outlook of what I'm going to be talking about. And then in the end, we'll have enough time for Q&A. So first, I would like to start with why social compliance matters, and why WRAP should be your choice of the social compliance partner. And for that, I would go through the overview of WRAP certification process, as well as the quality control part WRAP has. And we're in a very different time, very challenging time due to COVID-19. So I would like to share with what WRAP has been doing with regards to COVID-19, provide some of the insights on WRAP's policies, procedures to help facilities as well as brands and buyers. So let's get started. So why social compliance matters? And we've been in this industry for many years, Rab and myself. And also the social compliance has been on the topic for many brands and retailers and buyers in the past probably 30 years. And one of the things we always say is that not just RAP, but brands and buyers, is that it's the right thing to do, right? Workers' well-being, workers' health and safety is the number one most important thing for brands and buyers. And also, we know that when we go to a facility to do a RAP audit, we wanted to make sure workers are protected. A factory has enough health and safety measures, has all the policies and procedures in place to protect workers' well-beings. And that also means a facility has to meet the local requirements. And these requirements also are connected with some of the international standards, mostly known as the ILO core conventions. These conventions include forced labor, include child labor, minimum wage, etc. And all of those things, right, a brand and buyer does, it's also to protect their reputation. So with that, all of the brands and buyers, they have these things in mind to do to protect workers and to adhere international standards as well as local laws. On the other side of the flip, we also have demands from various players. So now consumers are more into supply chain transparency. They demand that brands and buyers to provide the list of, for example, their suppliers, right? They demand more socially responsible practices along the supply chain. And they demand that brands and buyers do more to protect workers, to protect our environment. And also in recent years, we see a surge of government getting involved in this sphere. We know that a number of governments have already been introducing regulations, passing laws to make sure that supply chains the issues on the supply chains are addressed. Recently, most notably is on the issue is the forced labor forced labor in the supply chain. And also we see a surge in the from the activists and NGO communities. They are campaigning hard, not only to protect workers, but they are on behalf of workers, but also they wanted government to have more regulations, have more laws to protect workers and to give pressure to brands and buyers to look at their supply chains and have more responsible practices. So with that, this is why social compliance matters. And I would also like to highlight some of the most important focus on forced labor, which is one of the latest trends in the social compliance and in the supply chain. You probably have heard recently, the US government has been pushing on getting legislations to look at the forced labors in China, in particular in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. The US government has already passed 2 bills in the House, and the bills are pending in the Senate. These 2 bills are specifically addressing forced labor issues in China. And other government entities, such as the US Treasury Department, under the Office of Foreign Asset they have been putting sanctions on doing business with particular entities in China, the XPCC, Xinjiang Production and Construction Corp. Um, for companies like this, the Treasury Department puts sanctions on the US businesses to not doing business with these entities. And if the US entities are found to be doing business, there could be fines. So all this indicating that a sufficient due diligence has to be put in place in brands and buyers to look at their supply chains, to look at how they do business in China and elsewhere, in large part with relation to forced labor. And forced labor isn't just the topic for the US government. There are other governments who have been also looking at this particular issue. The UK government, they already passed the Modern Slavery Act a few years ago. It's in place now, and government there is looking at how this can be applied in China with regards to the forced labor in Xinjiang. And there are a number of other legislations at the government level, at the EAO level, also looking at forced labor issues in general. So with all that, it's all the reasons for brands and buyers to look at their responsible sourcing, to look at how they look at their supply chain, to their due diligence. And from the consumer side, we know our world is pretty much surrounded by social media, right? Any news about a facility violating a local law or international law could be put on any of the social media and expose brands and buyers, right? So the brands and buyers' reputation is, there to be monitored by social media, by consumers, let alone by the various governments. So this is why, social compliance matters, and reputation. There is a reputation risk for brands and buyers. I would like to quote a very famous person who said, it takes 20 years for a brand to build a good reputation, but only 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you will do things differently. And indeed, in the past 30 years, brands and buyers have learned a good lesson from that, and from not being able to look at their supply chain to do their due diligence. So now, most of the brands have their own code of conduct, have their own audits they do to address the issues in the supply chain. And many of the brands and buyers also accept other schemes, such as RAP, to do their audits. So that brings us to why RAP. First of all, RAP is the largest independent factory-based certification program in the world. We specifically focus on apparel, footwear, sewn goods sectors, and we have expertise in auditing these sectors' suppliers. And also, as I mentioned, we inspect and certify factories all over the world. We're in over 40 countries, have close to 3,000 facilities certified worldwide. And RAP is also an objective and nonprofit organization. We're dedicated to promote safe, lawful, humane, and ethical manufacturing around the world through certification and education. We have a great training program that focuses on different entities, focus on different partners with RAP. For example, we have a 5-day training course targeted for our auditors who would do audits on behalf of RAP in these facilities. And we also have 2-day training course, especially for brands and buyers, the social compliance staff, as well as to factory managers, teaching them how to manage their social compliance programs, as well as how to implement RAP certification in their facility or implement social compliance programs in their facility. And RAP is also a choice for industry associations. For example, AFA, that's American Apparel Footwear Association, selected RAP as their choice of social compliance responsibility a partner for the past few years. Also, I would like to say that RAP is widely accepted as well as proven social compliance solution for many of the buyers in the SOM industry. We oftentimes cite that Disney, Costco, as well as Walmart being the biggest partners of RAP, they accept RAP, and Disney, RAP is Disney's preferred social compliance program for their suppliers. I would also like to highlight that RAP scheme, although we're very much the same with other schemes, we would also like to highlight that our difference is that besides the general areas we all the schemes cover, RAP also covers customs compliance as well as security. The security part is CTPAT. So our audit include a CTPAT portion of the CTPAT audit. CTPAT is Customs and Trade Partnership Against Terrorism. It was established after September 11th to make sure that the goods imported to the U.S. Are compliant with the U.S. government's regulations. And also, I like to say that RAP is a team of experts we're very responsive to inquiries, and we also have an excellent quality control program. These measures are built into our program to ensure that through reviews and document checking and key document updates, we ensure that our program is up to date. Our program meets the quality of brands and buyers. And also we go through the facilities go through what we call post-certification assessments. These assessments are to ensure that facilities still keep their full compliance even after they are certified. I will highlight a little bit more later during the presentation to go through what these measures are and what our certification, what our post-certification assessments are for. So we have good quality control, also to ensure our auditors' compliance with the code of conduct by the industry. When I say by the industry, there is an association called Association of Social Compliance, Professional Social Compliance Auditors. The association is like the association for, say, for example, for lawyers, ABA in the US. And the association is to ensure that the social compliance auditors are up to the standard, up to the industry's code of conduct. Another piece that we often highlight with brands and as well as our certified facilities is that RAP connects brands and facilities by sending out blast emails. These emails are free per brand or buyer's request to source from RAP certified facilities. Earlier, I mentioned that we have worldwide coverage. These stats are from 2019, and this is the top 10 facilities, number of facilities certified by RAP by country. As you can see, the top 10 countries, most of them are from Asia, but we also have Egypt and Mexico, Egypt from Africa and Mexico from this hemisphere. And last year, RAP received over 3,000 applications. That means factories. When we say applications, we say factories. These are the individual facilities signing up with RAP. Those are the numbers from 2019. And we also certified over, as of last Friday, we certified over 2,900 facilities. They employ 2.7 million workers over 40 countries. So as you can see, this is really worldwide coverage. Later on, I will also show you that RAP also has local auditors in most of the countries that we operate. And these are the RAP local offices and representatives. The reason I wanted to show you this is because our local offices oftentimes also, or representatives also, are our own staff auditors. They are able to go to factories to inspect factories and work with factories to be compliant, to be fully compliant with our program. So we are headquarters in Arlington, Virginia, and we have a representative for Latin American country. We also have a representative based in Germany for Europe. And the rest of the teams are in Asia. We have 2 offices, one in Bangladesh, another in Hong Kong. Both of these offices have staff auditors. And sorry, moving back. We also have representatives in India, as well as in Southeast Asian countries, such as Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia. And all these countries in Asia, they're all on top of our the top 10 certified facilities. And next, I would like to go through RAP's principles to give you a sense of what we cover. I mentioned earlier that we cover customs compliance as well as security, that's CTPAT. And besides that, we are essentially based on generally accepted international workplace standards, local laws and regulations. And we also make reference to some of the core conventions of the International Labor Organization, ILO. We also make reference to the United Nations Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights. In addition, the OECD's guidelines for multinational enterprises, those guidelines are also embedded in our 12 principles. And in the past few years, the UN SDGs have been a highlight of some of the brands and buyers. They try to work with SDGs to promote responsible sourcing as well as responsible consumption and production. And for that, RAP also covers the SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, as well as SDG 12, responsible consumption and production. So from this overview of RAP's policies and procedures, as well as principles, you can see that we cover a wide range of topics besides what a COC, a code of conduct, or other schemes cover. Next, I'm going to go through the RAP certification process to give you a sense of how we do the certification and what our quality control function is. There are 4 steps for the RAP certification program. This is targeted to facilities. They register with RAP online. That's called application. And then they do what we call a self-assessment or pre-audit self-assessment. There's a free document can be downloaded from our website or from Factory's module on our platform. Factory can go through the self-assessment to assess what they needed to do to get ready for the audit. So the audit, RAP has the third-party system. We have 17 auditing firms that station worldwide to do audits, and in in most of the cases, these auditors are local auditors, and they understand the culture, they understand the language, as well as the nuances in the local culture. So they do factory tour during the evaluation audit. They interview workers, which is a big part of big part of the audit, as well as review documents. And management interviews is also part of the audit process. So after they finish the audit, they generate a report. If it's a recommendation report, then it's sent to RAP for evaluation. And RAP has a 2-tier review process, and after that, a factory is certified. So let me go through the quality control part. So we have a robust internal report review process. So these, every single report submitted to RAP are reviewed by our local staff as well as our headquarters staff to make sure that the report, as well as what auditors do during the audit, meet our requirements. For example, we have a minimum mandate requirement. Say we go to a factory of 250 workers, the auditors have to spend 2.5 man-days. So we wanted to make sure that the time in and time out and the number of hours spent in the facility meets our requirement. And after that review, all reports are sent to our independent review board, which consists of industry experts. They will review the report and give a final approval of the report. And then we then can certify the facility. So after a facility is certified, I mentioned earlier that we would do a post-certification assessment, PCAs. This is to make sure that a facility is still in full compliance with RAP principles as well as the local laws. We wanted we see certification as a process, not an end to the process. So that's why we have this post-certification assessment to make sure that factories are in full compliance with our requirements. So these are the stats that we do the PCAs. We have a third-party system. They do about 30%, 15% of the PCAs in the facilities. And RAP staff also does these PCAs on their own, and we do about 20%. So this is one of the processes of our quality control. And another piece of it is that we wanted to make sure that our auditors are excellent auditors. And I mentioned earlier that the Industry Association of Professional Social Compliance Auditors, this association, APSCA, specifically has regulations as well as code of conduct for social compliance auditors. And at RAP, we wanted to make sure that our auditors and our auditing firms are in line with APSCA. So our number one requirement for our third-party auditing firms is that these firms have to be a member of APSCA, and their auditors have to be registered with APSCA, so that these auditors are within the APSCA's code of conduct to look at. And one last thing on this part is that RAP requires that the lead auditor to be at least registered auditor. What does that mean? So APSCA has different levels of different levels for social compliance auditors. If you're new to the social compliance field, you cannot be doing an audit, being a lead auditor. So the lead auditor has to be finishing or completing 100 mandates to be able to get that registered auditor status with APSCA. So this is why we wanted to align our practice with APSCA. So that is, the lead auditor has to be registered auditor. Last thing I wanted to talk about before we move on to the COVID-19 piece is that a RAP's approach to social compliance with regards to factories is that we encourage factories to take the management system approach to adopt, deploy, and to monitor their code of conduct within their facility. It doesn't matter whether it's RAP principles or other schemes. If they use the management system approach, we think that they could address the issues in their supply chain or in their factory, and then meet all their brands and requirements. And the management system approach include maintaining documents, necessary documents and evidence, right? And continuing the education for all their workers as well as their management team. So let me move on to the last piece of this presentation and go to the Q&A session. So this year, I think it's all difficult for all of us. We understand that our suppliers, our facilities are experiencing some hardships. So we decided to work with AFA, American Apparel Footwear Association, to develop what we call guidance on reopening facilities during COVID-19. And this, you can find, this is a public available document. If you're interested, we can share the link with you. And RAP is opening virtually as most of the people are. Our local offices are pretty much back to normal. We go with the national local laws. If certain parts of the world is shut down, we will also shut down, work from home. For facilities, we have developed what we call alternative desktop assessment. So instead of going to do an on-site audit, there are due to some certain travel restrictions, auditors are not able to travel to factories, and some of the factories may have been closed. So we developed ADA, alternative desktop assessment, earlier in the year and pushed out to our facilities. So with this, this program, we're able to virtually audit a facility and extend their certification for 4 months. So when we come to the second part of the year, we have experienced additional travel restrictions, and some of the factories actually came to us and asked for the second alternative desktop assessment. We're able to extend that to these facilities. And for new facilities, we will not have this program for them because we have never been to these facilities. It's better for us not to certify these factories without knowing what their practices are during an on-site audit. So for new facilities, they will have to wait a little bit until an on-site audit is feasible. So with that, that's, I thank you for this opportunity to introduce WRAP to you all, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I'll hand it over to you, Jason.
Okay. Come on back. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. You can go ahead and stop sharing your screen if you'd like.
Excellent.
Just wait a second here. Okay, my understanding, we got one question here. My understanding is that WRAP is good to have if you are a factory, but should retailers be part of WRAP?
That's a great question. So WRAP only certifies factories. We don't certify a retailer or a brand. So for retailers to have WRAP, that means they require their facilities or their suppliers to get WRAP certification. And I work for WRAP. Certainly, I would promote WRAP. If you are a brand or retailer, you wanted to have WRAP, I think you're debating whether you have WRAP or not. My suggestion is you should, because WRAP is independent from your own internal audits, and we give you that independence. In addition, we say we certify factories. Besides certifying factories, we also partner with brands and retailers, do what we call sometimes investigations. For example, if a brand and buyer run into issues in a WRAP certified facility, and there are things that they wanted us to communicate, to investigate with the facility, we can certainly do so. I showed earlier that our staff is in many of the Asian countries. We have a representative here in this hemisphere. So we are able to do these investigations at normal times for sure. And in fact, we did one in Latin American country recently. The travel restriction were lifted and we were able to do one. So yes, WRAP can be the choice of a brand and buyer. We don't certify the brand, but we certify their suppliers.
Yeah, and I think a good point to that is, a lot of, especially nowadays with the upcoming generations, the Gen Zers, the millennials are certainly more cognizant of where their products are coming from. Events in the news about, the compliance issues, all around the world on the news has certainly sparked that conversation even more so in recent years. So I think a good thing to point out is that, if you are a brand and your customer base is very sensitive and sensitive to those types of things and is looking for, because nowadays people want to be more part of a brand as far as a movement goes, as far as what they represent, rather than just buying a garment, So
yeah, absolutely.
there's certainly something to be said, Hong, right, about as a brand using a RAP certification, the fact that your factories are in fact RAP certified as a way to communicate, a marketing tactic to communicate to your customer base that, this is in fact part of our brand identity, our corporate culture, and so forth, right?
Exactly. And I also wanted to point out, I didn't say this earlier, when I go to trade shows, including ATS, right, we meet a lot of designers, up and coming designers. And what I'm impressed most is that these designers, they all have social compliance, the social part, as well as the environmental part in their mind. They come to us and ask, what can we do to be more socially responsible or environmentally responsible? So I'm always very impressed by these designers.
Yeah. And it all starts with the supply chain. That's what, I think what some people on that side of things fail to realize is that that's where you target social compliance aspect, is by making sure that your supply chain is compliant. And there's no better way to start than RAP certifications. And I like that you mentioned that, if you are a designer or a brand that is manufacturing in certain parts of the world, you want to check to see if your factories are compliant, and if not, we can hire you to see if they want to obtain that certification. So
yeah, I saw a question just there. It popped out. It says,
there's another one here. It says, do you have a list of manufacturers that you suggest?
Yes. So our website, rapcompliance.org. If you go down all the way to the bottom, there's a factory list. So we list the factories who are certified, who want us to be listed. And if you wanted us to connect you with our certified factories, I'm happy to do so. And oftentimes when we go to ATS, right, people ask us, can we source from RAP certified factories? The answer is yes. We can help you to link you with our suppliers. Just send us an email with your products to be made and where, we help you to connect with our factories, and it's free. You can send as many as you want.
And I did include the link here in the chat function, the rapcompliance.org/facility. So please save that, click on it. That will give you what you need to know about the list as far as that goes. Huang, what's the best email to get in contact, as you had just mentioned here?
My email, hmei@rapcompliance.org.
Okay, so if anybody wants to get a hold of Hong here, that's the best way. Did I do that right?
I think there is a typo there.
Oh, compliance, my mistake. I swear, as time goes by, I become less proficient at typing, as things get quicker.
They sometimes do the same thing, when you type compliance.
Yeah. I think we're all a little bit dyslexic to some degree.
Yep.
And spell check has certainly not made that better. Okay, any other? I'm going to check our Facebook feed here. 1 second. Okay, there's the email. Okay, let's check our Q&A chat. Okay, I have a couple questions for you, Hong, if you don't mind, really quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I know there's been certain bits of information that have hit the web and the media specifically the Xinjiang region. The issue of forced labor in the region seems to be a big focus right now. How closely should a brand, as a brand or designer, how closely should you be following specifically that issue and others like it?
Oh, very closely. This is a big issue. I mean, forced labor in general is a big issue that all brands and retailers should be pay attention to. And I know, the industry, American Apparel Footwear Association is doing a great job getting the industry mobilized and getting the tools, etc. So very closely. And I mentioned earlier that there are two bills waiting in the Senate to be approved. When the House approved those two bills, it was partisan. It was overwhelmingly approved by the House. So it's very likely that the Senate may do so. And I know both Kate Herman from AFA as well as Julie Hughes from USFIA are going to speak later today. I don't remember exactly what topics they're going to be talking about, but those two associations have been following the issue closely. If any of you guys have questions, feel free to listen to their presentations and ask questions as well. And one piece with regards to the US government, CBP, Customs and Border Protection, it's under the what's the biggest government entity. So anyways, CBP released withhold release orders recently in September, October. And initially, the industry thought that the WRO was going to be on Xinjiang cotton, because cotton production was the source of one of the sources of forced labor. But CBP did not issue that blank withhold release order on the cotton. So instead, it was targeted only to a few factories or entities. But there is still a potential of issuing a blank withhold release order. So yes, brands and retailers must be sorry about that. There was a call coming in. So brands and retailers really must be closely monitoring this.
Yeah, and another good resource for everybody that RAP provides is if you want to learn about this stuff, is the news link they have on their website. So I'll be posting that here as well. So please check that out. They always post relevant stuff that's going on around the world in regards to compliance and other issues in the apparel industry. So that's a good resource for you.
Thank you.
One more thing I'd like to ask is, so I know very, very well that you guys have the 12 principles from RAP, right? And there are other social compliance platforms and services that don't have all 12 of them. There's a very in-depth list of different aspects, including customs and security, stuff like that. What benefits do brands and retailers and manufacturing facilities, what benefit do they have for going with RAP and having a full RAP audit versus one of these other services?
Thank you. That's a great question. So earlier I mentioned that besides the regular scope, RAP 12 principles also include customs and security. The security part is especially important part for us because it is, especially if you are a US retailer or a brand, the security part we have is in line with the CTPAD requirements. Last year, US CBP released the what they call updated CDPAT, what they call minimum security criteria. And RAP updated its audit tool, or in particular, Principle 12, to meet the minimum requirements. So this means that if a brand accepts a RAP audit, they can pretty much satisfy the CBP's requirement or the CTPAT requirements. So instead of having a social compliance audit and a CTPAT audit separate, they can combine the two. And RAP can do that for a brand or a retailer. So that's the, I guess, you can save money for yourself as well as for your facilities, which under the current circumstances, it could be huge savings for factories.
Yeah, the progressive, you can bundle it, right? That's a much better way to do things. So one thing you mentioned earlier, which I thought was really cool, and I've known about this for some time, but maybe some of our audience doesn't, is the post-certification assessments, the PCAs that you guys do. So what is the overall benefit to having that? Is it a quality control thing? Is there other benefits to actually as to why RAP does that?
Yeah. So certification for us is not something like, if you get a certification, then your job is done. No, for us, it's your job is starting, right? So a factory meets our requirements during the audit, but then after the audit, after they're certified, they still need to work hard to keep that full compliance. So our PCA is targeted to factories that previously demonstrated some risks. So we base our PCA on risk levels, right? In certain countries, as well as what the non-compliances were found during the previous audits. So with that, if a facility is not meeting, is not doing enough after the certification, our PCA is able to find that gap and remind factories, well, you need to do more to keep full compliance. And that's also another point of, I guess, point in time where we go back to factories and get additional data, right? So these data can tell us whether a factory is good or bad, what we need to do to help factories to improve if the PCA is bad. And also from a different standpoint, if when we go back, we also check auditors' quality, right? So we look at certain records from the past. If an auditor did not find these issues, then we can go back to the auditor and say, well, there's an improvement we need you to do. So it's both. And we also use the PCA opportunity to communicate with brands and buyers. If we find something serious, we would communicate with brands and buyers that we work with to let them know these issues, so we can all work together to make improvements in the facilities.
I think one of the things worth noting that I really like about RAP is that there is a system of checks and balances that has been established within the organization, which is why it is the premier compliance certification platform out there for the industry. Not only are they checking the factories, but they're monitoring the auditors as well. So there's this positive feedback loop of checking and certification. So yeah.
One thing that's well said. Thank you.
Yeah. I have another question here. As a retailer or a brand, can we say we are using RAP factories? I think the answer there is yes. Is there a certification if we are not part of RAP, but we notice a factory is part of RAP and we have an issue? Can we call RAP?
Absolutely.
What is the cost? And then the last bit of that is, what is the cost to a factory for joining RAP.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So if you work with a factory that's RAP certified and you find issues, contact us. We always tell people who visit our factories, if they see things, let us know. We'll work with factories and with you to remediate the non-compliances. What's the cost? So to register with RAP for a facility, the cost is $1,195 US. And then there's another cost to do the actual audit. The actual audit, the cost, it depends on the number of workers in a facility. So the more workers, the more mandates needed and the more cost to it.
Okay. And a good point to make for even though RAP is certifications for factories and manufacturers, as a brand, you have full right to use if your supply chain is in fact RAP certified, to use that as an accolade, promoting that, you could simply as putting the RAP logo on your website and saying our factories are RAP certified.
Yes,
goes a long way. Goes a long way to educating your consumer base that in fact that's your business model, which goes a long way.
Yeah, and I also would like to add that we changed our logo policy use to have outward facing or consumer facing aspect of it. So now if a brand wanted to use our logo on their care label on the product, that is also permissible. In the past, we didn't have that, but now we do.
Yeah, it makes it much easier for brands and retailers to use that logo. So, okay, well, no other questions I'm looking from the chat or from Facebook. So, Hong, I'd like to thank you again for joining us today. Very in-depth and very relevant as always.
Thank you for the invitation, and again, thank you for ATS to highlight how important social compliance is.
Absolutely. Big believers in it. Just a couple housekeeping items. I just posted the link to our dashboard for the virtual show. I highly encourage everybody to go there. In there is the exhibitor hall where you can see who has a virtual booth, so to speak, here at ATS. Also, there is the matchmaking function that we have, which is essentially like the show floor. So let me just get the screenshot here that I made for everybody. And it's not pasting. Anyway, if you go on the dashboard, click the link, you scroll down just a bit, there's a matchmaking function. It's a great place it's our live hangouts, great place to do networking, connect with suppliers, chat with the show staff if you have any questions, or just meet other attendees. So again, it's taking the place of our show floor. So I encourage everybody to head over there before our next seminar, which is coming up here in about just under 30 minutes, and which will be featuring Julie Hughes, president of USFIA, and Dr. Shen Liu, the associate professor of the Department of Fashion and Apparel Studies for the University of Delaware. They will be speaking on the impact and insights of trade. I'd like to thank Hong again and all of our viewers on Facebook and here on Zoom. So we'll see everybody in a little bit.
Yeah, I'll hang out on the live chat for a little bit. I mean, the show floor, in case anyone has any questions.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason.
Bye, everybody.